The first email arrived exactly at midnight, and it only said one word: run. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke. Maybe a scammer trying to spook people into clicking links, or one of those late-night spam messages that slip past filters. But something about it froze me in place. The subject line was blank. The sender's address looked like static, just a jumble of symbols and numbers, and the timestamp was 12 a.m. on the dot. Not 11:59, not 12:01. Exactly midnight. I stared at it longer than I should have, waiting for the punchline, for a second message, for anything. But nothing came. Just that single word glowing on my screen, as if it were whispering straight into my head. Run. I should have listened. I should have slammed my laptop shut, powered it off, and walked away before any of it could take root. But I didn't. I told myself it was nothing, just digital garbage. And because I ignored it, everything that followed became my fault. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you this, why I'm dragging you into the same nightmare that stole my sleep and bled into every corner of my life. The truth is, I can't carry it alone anymore. And if I don't get this story out, every detail, every warning, I'm terrified I won't live long enough to try again. Back then, things were ordinary. Too ordinary, really. My nights were predictable. The hum of the fridge in my tiny apartment, the muted glow of the city bleeding through my blinds, the endless scrolling on my laptop to keep the silence away. I worked late, ate bad takeout, killed hours on forums and YouTube until my eyelids burned. Midnight was just another mile marker in my sleepless routine. That's why the email hit me so hard. Nothing ever happened at midnight in my life. Midnight was quiet, boring, safe. And then suddenly it wasn't. I hovered over the screen, debating if I should delete it, maybe even laugh about it. Who gets spooked by a four-letter word? But my fingers wouldn't move. The glow of the text felt heavier than it should have, like it was pressing against me, demanding I pay attention. I wish I could tell you that was the end of it, that I shut the laptop and forgot all about it. But if that were true, you wouldn't be here listening to me now. Because that was just the first email. And when the next one came, everything I thought I knew about safety, about privacy, about reality itself, began to unravel. I'll explain. But to understand how it all spiraled, you need to know who I was before the emails began. Before midnight became the most dangerous hour of my life. If you really want to understand how the whole thing broke me, you need to see the shape of my life before it all began. Honestly, it wasn't much to look at. My nights were a predictable loop of bad habits stacked on worse ones. Work late, grab whatever greasy food was still open, collapse into my apartment with the intention of doing something productive, and then somehow lose hours to the glowing screen in front of me. I lived alone, which wasn't exactly a tragedy, but it wasn't glamorous either. Picture a shoebox apartment with walls so thin I could tell when my neighbor sneezed. The kind of place where the ceiling fan makes a sound like it's trying to confess a crime every time you turn it on. That was my kingdom, my little fortress of insomnia. The truth is, I wasn't sleeping well even before the emails started. I'd stay up scrolling through forums, watching videos about things I didn't care about, falling into internet rabbit holes until the sun threatened to come up. You know how it is. One video about cats falling off counters somehow becomes 3 hours of conspiracy theories about haunted theme parks. Midnight wasn't mystical to me. It was just the hour I realized I hadn't brushed my teeth yet. And of course, I was no stranger to weird emails. I'd seen it all. The infamous Nigerian princes promising me millions if I just wire a small processing fee. Some random account offering miracle pills to solve every problem I never asked to have. I even got one once claiming to be from a time traveler warning me not to eat gas station sushi on June 3rd. For the record, I ate the sushi. Nothing happened except mild regret and an upset stomach. Spam was just part of the digital wallpaper of my life. White noise, junk mail, annoying but harmless. But none of those were like what I was about to see. See, there's a difference between junk that tries to sell you something and a message that looks like it's aimed directly into your chest. Most emails you can laugh off. But when one pops up that knows the exact time you'll open it, when it arrives with surgical precision at the stroke of midnight, and when it doesn't ask for money or clicks but instead tells you to run, that's when your definition of harmless changes. Of course, I didn't know that yet. I was still caught up in my routine, in the tiny ecosystem of loneliness I'd built. Even my humor about it had gone stale. I joked to myself that if anyone ever hacked my inbox, the most incriminating thing they'd find would be my subscription to a frozen pizza newsletter. Looking back, I can see how perfectly vulnerable I was, a creature of habit. A night owl with nothing better to do than wait for the clock to hit 12. A man whose life was so quiet that even the smallest ripple felt like an earthquake. And when the second email arrived, it wasn't just a ripple. It was the start of something I still can't explain, no matter how many times I replay it in my head. It came just like the first one, time-stamped exactly at midnight. The glow of my laptop cut through the stale air of my apartment, and there it was. Same blank subject line, same sender address that looked like television static. But this time it wasn't just a single word. And that's where everything began to spiral. The second email was longer, though not by much. Instead of a single word, it was a phrase. 4 words. Don't open the door. That was it. No explanation, no sender name I could trace, no link to click or unsubscribe from. Just that phrase sitting in my inbox like a loaded trap. I remember laughing at it, though it wasn't the kind of laugh that comes from something funny. It was sharp and brittle, like I was trying to convince myself it wasn't crawling under my skin. My apartment door was locked. My hallway was empty. Nobody was there. I even checked the peephole just to prove the email wrong. Still, it rattled me. Spam is supposed to be predictable. This didn't feel like spam. This felt directed. The third night, it got worse. At 12 a.m. exactly, my inbox pinged. This time the message was 3 sentences long. Stop staying up so late. It isn't good for you. We're watching. I stared at those words until the letters blurred. My first thought was the obvious one. Some sick joke. Maybe a hacker, maybe a bored troll who got access to my account. I started pacing my living room, muttering to myself like that would make the fear less ridiculous. It's just someone screwing with me. It has to be. There's no way anyone could know. But that was the thing. How could anyone know that about me? About my insomnia, my late-night habits, the fact that I hadn't been sleeping properly for months? Sure, I'd posted about being a night owl in forums before, but the tone of the email wasn't generic. It was specific. It felt like someone had been standing in my apartment, watching me rub my tired eyes at 2 a.m., and then sat down at a keyboard to mock me for it. By the 5th night, I was dreading the clock striking 12. I sat with my laptop closed, trying to outsmart the sender by refusing to check. But curiosity is a cruel disease. At 12:15, I cracked. My heart hammered as I opened the screen. The subject line was still blank. The message inside, though, wasn't vague anymore. Remember the house on Maple Drive? The one with the blue shutters. My breath caught in my throat. That was my childhood home. I hadn't thought about it in years, hadn't said the address out loud to anyone since moving away. And yet here it was, spelled out in black and white. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it rattled the table. My stomach turned to ice. No prankster could have known that. Not unless they were family, or had dug through records no one else had access to. The next night, the email didn't just mention my past. It mentioned the present. That leftover pizza in the fridge? Don't eat it. I froze mid-step, the refrigerator door halfway open. The smell of old pepperoni and cardboard crust wafted up at me, but my hunger evaporated. The message had been sent before I opened the fridge. Before I even thought about the fridge. That was when paranoia really took hold. I covered the webcam with tape. I turned my phone face down, switched it off. I unplugged my router, hoping to break whatever tether this thing had to me. But every night, even offline, the emails arrived. The moment I reconnected, they were there waiting. Always time-stamped at exactly midnight. I wanted to believe it was still just some elaborate prank. That if I laughed it off or ignored it long enough, it would stop. But deep down, I knew better. The pattern was too precise, too invasive. And then came the night that forced me to admit it. I'd been trying to distract myself with a movie, something stupid and loud. At 12 a.m., I heard the ping. My chest tightened as I opened the email. Stop pretending you're alone. He doesn't like being ignored. I read it 3 times, my throat tightening with each pass. The worst part? At that exact moment, I thought I heard something behind me. A shuffle, faint but undeniable. When I turned, the room was empty. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed someone else to see what I was seeing, to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. That was when I decided to show the emails to a friend. I told myself he'd laugh, call me paranoid, maybe even prove it was a glitch. But a part of me, the part that couldn't shake the cold in my bones, hoped he'd see what I saw, that it wasn't just in my head. And when he read them for himself, I realized I wasn't as ready for his reaction as I thought. I finally cracked and called my friend Mark. We'd known each other since college, the kind of friendship where you could go months without talking and still pick up mid-sentence. If anyone could make me feel less insane, it was him. When he answered, his voice was groggy. "Dude, do you have any idea what time it is?" "Yeah," I said quickly, pacing my living room. "Look, I need you to see something. It won't make sense if I explain over the phone. Just, can you come over tomorrow night? Please." He groaned, but I heard the shift in his tone. "You sound freaked out. What's going on?" "Tomorrow, midnight. You'll see." The next evening, Mark showed up with a six-pack and a smirk, like he thought I was overreacting to some bad breakup or work stress. He plopped onto my couch, cracking open a beer. "So," he said, "what's the emergency? Ghost in your fridge? Laptop possessed by Nigerian princes?" I forced a weak laugh. "Just wait until midnight." He gave me a long look but didn't press. We killed time with video games and half-hearted conversation. For the first time in days, I felt almost normal, like maybe the whole thing had been in my head. Until the clock ticked over. 12 a.m. My laptop pinged. "Showtime," I muttered, opening the inbox. The email sat there, fresh and glowing. Blank subject line. Static sender. I clicked. The message read, "You shouldn't have brought him here." Mark leaned over my shoulder, beer halfway to his lips. He read it once, twice, then let out a sharp laugh. "Dude, it's just spam. Relax. Spam doesn't do this every night." At midnight. Exactly midnight. He shrugged. "Could be some automated script. Or a hacker messing with you. Hell, maybe your crazy ex." "I don't have a crazy ex." "Then maybe you've got a fan." He grinned. "Congrats, man. You finally went viral." I slammed the laptop shut. "This isn't funny, Mark. Last night it knew what I was eating. The night before that it mentioned my old house. How would anyone know that?" His smile faltered for a moment, then returned, thinner this time. "Okay, that's weird, but it's not paranormal. We'll figure it out." He took a long swig of beer. "Tomorrow I'll run a trace on the IP. See where these emails are coming from. Worst case, it's some basement troll with too much free time." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. His easy confidence was like a life raft, and for a little while I clung to it. We stayed up talking, pretending to be casual, but I caught him glancing at the laptop more than once. I could tell the message had wormed under his skin too, no matter what he said. When he finally left, he clapped me on the shoulder. "Don't worry, it's just code and wires. Nothing that can actually hurt you. But the thing about wires is they carry current, and current can kill." By the next night, even he stopped laughing. Mark came back the next night, partly out of curiosity, partly, I think, to prove to himself that it was nothing. He carried his laptop this time, determined to trace the IP like he'd promised. I wanted to believe it would work, that the whole thing would be unmasked as some stupid prank, a person we could block or report. But a knot in my chest told me it wouldn't be that easy. We sat at the table with greasy Chinese takeout, cartons spread between us. I tried to act normal, shoveling noodles into my mouth, while Mark tapped away at his keyboard. For a little while, it almost felt like a regular night, until my inbox pinged. 12 a.m. The air in the room changed. I froze, chopsticks halfway to my mouth. Mark looked up at me, then at my screen. The new email was waiting. Blank subject line. Static sender. I clicked it open with hands that didn't feel steady. The message read, "Lo mein again? You always order the same thing. Try something new." My stomach dropped. My mouth was still full of lo mein when I read it. The email described exactly what I was eating. As I was eating it, Mark's smirk disappeared. He leaned closer, squinting at the words like they might rearrange themselves into something less terrifying. "Okay," he said finally, voice flat. That's creepy." Creepy wasn't the word. My skin crawled. My apartment suddenly felt smaller, every shadow suspicious. I shoved the carton away, appetite gone. Before I could say anything, another email appeared. Same timestamp, 12 a.m. 2 messages sent in the same minute. I clicked it open. "Stop staring at the screen. Look to your left." Both of us turned slowly, like puppets on strings. The blinds covered the window, but the faint glow of streetlight leaked through. Nothing moved. Still, the sensation of being watched pressed in on me like a hand against the back of my neck. Mark whispered, "It's gotta be your webcam. I covered it days ago." My voice shook. He pulled off the tape, checked the tiny lens. "It's disabled. But maybe your phone." I snatched my phone off the table, flipped it over, still powered down. My chest tightened. Another ping. "No, not your phone." I almost dropped the device. The words blurred in my vision. The email was answering us in real time. Mark's hands hovered over his keyboard. This isn't possible. It has to be some kind of predictive text thing. Or spyware. Maybe your mix-on." But even he didn't sound convinced. I swallowed hard. "What did I tell you? This isn't normal. It's like it's inside my apartment." Mark shut his laptop with a snap. "All right, tomorrow I'll bring in some tools, run diagnostics. Tonight, just don't panic, okay?" But I was already panicking, because while he tried to patch my sanity with logic, the screen blinked again. Another midnight email. This one was shorter. Only 2 words. "Behind you." We both froze. Neither of us dared turn at first. The room was so quiet I could hear the hum of the fridge, the blood in my ears. Slowly, painfully, I forced myself to look over my shoulder. Nothing. Just my empty living room, the shadow of a chair, the dim halo of the street lamp outside. I laughed then, a hollow, fractured sound. "See? It's messing with me. With us. That's all." But my laugh didn't convince Mark any more than it convinced me. The worst part was the next message. Ping. "Don't lie. You both saw him." That line almost broke me. My whole body went cold. I wanted to scream, to demand what it meant, who it meant. But I couldn't form the words. Mark slammed my laptop shut again, his face pale. "Okay. Enough. Tomorrow we're contacting someone. Authorities, tech support, whoever. This is beyond trolling. We'll trace the source. We'll stop it." He said it with such finality, like saying the words could make them true. But I could see the cracks in his confidence. His hands were trembling. His voice wasn't steady. And when he left that night, he didn't finish his beer. Didn't even take the leftover lo mein. He just muttered something about calling me in the morning and practically bolted for the door. I sat there alone in the glow of the dark screen, wondering what would come at midnight tomorrow. Mark was true to his word. He came back the next day armed with tools, programs, and enough caffeine to power through a digital exorcism. He set up shop at my kitchen table, cables snaking everywhere, his laptop humming like a second heart. "All right," he said, cracking his knuckles. "We're gonna trace this bastard. Every email leaves a footprint. No one's invisible online." I wanted to believe him. God, I did. Watching him type gave me a little comfort, like maybe he could claw logic out of something that felt anything but logical. Hours passed. He ran trace after trace, muttering to himself, brow furrowed deeper with every failure. The results kept looping back to nonsense. Addresses that didn't exist, servers pinging in multiple countries at once, timestamps that contradicted themselves. At one point, the trail led to my own IP address. "That's impossible," Mark whispered, more to himself than to me. "Unless you're sending these emails to yourself. Which you're not." He leaned back, rubbing his temples. For the first time, I saw real doubt crack his expression. "Maybe we should, I don't know, report it." I suggested, my voice too thin. So we tried. The police were less than helpful. They listened, nodded, and finally told me to stop engaging with spam. When I pressed, they gave me a pamphlet about online safety, as if I'd never heard of phishing scams. One officer even chuckled. Look, unless someone's stolen money or your identity, we can't do much about creepy emails, he said, sliding the pamphlet across the desk. Block the sender. Simple as that. Simple. If only it were. Mark didn't give up, though. He dragged me to a local IT shop, one of those dimly lit places filled with humming towers and the faint smell of burnt circuits. The guy behind the counter was older, balding, his glasses perched low on his nose. Mark explained what was happening, scrolling through screenshots of the messages. The man's expression didn't change much at first. Then he leaned closer, squinting at the timestamps, the sender line, the strange static addresses. His lips pressed into a thin line. He slid the laptop back toward me like it had burned him. His voice dropped low. Delete them. Now. Mark blinked. Delete? You don't even want to look at the headers. The man shook his head, too quickly. Delete every single one. Don't reply. And for God's sake, don't click any links. A chill slid down my spine. Why? What do you mean? He glanced over his shoulder, lowered his voice even more. Because I've seen this before. I leaned in. Seen what? But he just shook his head. That's all I'll say. Trust me. Wipe them and forget about it. Forget about it. As if it were that simple. Mark tried to press him. What do you mean you've seen this before? Who else? The man cut him off. I said that's all. Don't come back here with this. He stood, walked into the back room and didn't return. We left in silence. That night, my inbox pinged at midnight as usual. Another message waiting. I hovered over the mouse, remembering the man's words, his urgency. Delete them. Don't reply. But I couldn't. The weight of curiosity pressed too hard. Who else had seen them? Why had he reacted like that? What did he know that I didn't? I opened the email. You've been asking for answers. Ready to hear them? My pulse thudded in my throat. This wasn't just harassment anymore. It was interactive. An invitation. A trap. Mark was dozing on the couch, empty beer can in his hand. I wanted to wake him, to share the burden of that single sentence glowing on the screen. But something stopped me, because deep down I already knew what I was going to do. Of course, I didn't listen. I told myself I wasn't going to do it. I swore it to myself, swore it to Mark, swore it to the trembling part of me that still believed I could keep the emails contained if I just ignored them. But when that last message appeared, ready to hear them? It was like bait dangling in front of a starving animal. I clicked reply. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for what felt like forever. The cursor blinked like a pulse, daring me. I typed 3 shaky words. Who are you? I hit send. The reply came instantly. Not a minute later. Not a second. Instantly. I've been waiting for you to write back. My chest tightened. The glow of the screen seemed brighter, harsher, as if the words themselves were alive, pressing into me. Another ping. You shouldn't have made me wait this long. I jerked back in my chair, heart pounding. My apartment felt suffocating, the air thick like smoke. I wanted to slam the laptop shut, but my hands wouldn't obey. I could only watch as another message slid into the inbox. You look tired. Those bags under your eyes are worse tonight. I raised a trembling hand to my face, touched the skin beneath my eyes. My reflection in the darkened laptop screen stared back. Hollow, sleepless, hunted. I whispered to myself, this isn't real. This isn't real. The inbox pinged again. Oh, it's real. I shot to my feet, the chair scraping loud against the floor. Mark stirred on the couch, blinking awake. What's going on? I couldn't answer. My throat locked. I just pointed at the laptop. He shuffled over, squinting at the screen. The next email came as he leaned in. Hello, Mark. His face drained of color. How the hell? He spun, scanning the room, checking the covered webcam, the blinds, the corners. This isn't possible. But it was happening. The emails kept coming. It's rude to whisper about me. Why is he looking at the window? Stop pretending you don't hear the knock. And then 3 sharp knocks rattled the apartment door. Mark swore under his breath. I couldn't move. Every muscle in my body locked as the sound echoed through the tiny space. The inbox pinged again. Go ahead. Open it. Neither of us moved. Neither of us breathed. Silence stretched thin as glass. Finally, Mark shook his head, muttering, "This is insane. We have to shut this down. Call someone. Smash the damn thing." But I wasn't listening to him. My eyes were fixed on the screen, on the words glowing there like a warning or a prophecy. Because deep down I already knew. That was the moment everything went wrong. The knock at the door should have been a coincidence. People get visitors. Neighbors forget their keys. Delivery drivers mix up apartments. That's what Mark kept insisting, even as his voice trembled. But I couldn't shake it. The email had predicted it. Word for word. The email predicted the knock at my door. 2 seconds later, it happened. That kind of timing doesn't just happen. Mark crept toward the peephole, one cautious step at a time. "Relax," he whispered. "It's probably nothing." He pressed an eye to the door, then stiffened. "Ha, that's weird." My throat tightened. "What?" "There's nobody out there." The silence stretched, thick and heavy. I swallowed hard, every nerve screaming. He turned back, face pale, lips pressed tight. Before I could respond, the lights flickered. Just a small stutter at first, the kind you get in old buildings. But then they dimmed, brightened, dimmed again. Like something was breathing through the wires. The laptop pinged. He saw it. "Don't lie." Mark recoiled. Nope. We're done here." He started gathering his things. But before he could leave, something else happened. The chair by the window, the one I always draped my hoodie over, shifted. Just an inch. Enough to hear the scrape of wood against the floor. I froze. "Did you?" "I saw it," he whispered, voice barely audible. The laptop pinged again. "You're not alone." We both turned in unison. The kitchen was dark, the blinds drawn, the corners of the room swallowed in shadow. And yet, I swear I saw something move. A ripple in the dark, like heat distortion. Mark muttered, "Jesus Christ," under his breath. His hands were shaking so badly he dropped his phone. The laptop chimed again. "Pick it up, Mark." He didn't. He couldn't. His face was slack with terror. That's when we heard it. My voice. Not from my throat, but from the kitchen. "Mark?" It called, low and broken, but unmistakably me. Mark's eyes widened. He shook his head violently. Nope, not real." But his denial crumbled when the voice spoke again. Clearer this time. "Over here." It was mocking. A twisted echo of me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But my legs felt cemented to the floor. Mark grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the door. "We're leaving. Now." But the moment he touched me, the laptop pinged again. "Don't open it. You won't like what's waiting." We froze mid-step. My pulse hammered in my ears. Another knock at the door. Louder this time. Mark swore and reached for the knob anyway. "Screw this. I'd rather deal with whatever's out there then." I yanked him back. "No. Wait." The laptop chimed again. "Go ahead. See for yourself." Mark wrenched free and peered through the peephole again. His face drained of color so fast I thought he might faint. "What?" I whispered, panic clawing at my throat. He turned to me, voice ragged. "It's you." The words barely registered before the knocking started again. Louder, frantic. But the person outside wasn't who I thought it was. I stumbled back, my vision swimming, my thoughts shattering. My own double. My own voice from the kitchen. Emails that knew everything before it happened. Reality was slipping, cracking like glass under pressure. And I couldn't tell which side I was standing on anymore. By the time the next night came, I'd convinced myself I wouldn't look. I told Mark I was done, that we'd pull the plug, ditch the laptop, maybe even move out of the apartment altogether. But midnight doesn't care what you plan. It arrives, steady as a heartbeat, and with it came the inevitable ping. The sound was soft, almost gentle, but it cut through the silence like a knife. Mark and I froze, staring at the laptop on the table like it was a loaded gun. Neither of us moved. Neither of us breathed. Finally, with hands that felt detached from my body, I opened it. The subject line wasn't blank this time. It was the first time I'd seen anything typed there. "Look behind you." My vision tunneled. The air turned thick, unbreathable. I couldn't move, couldn't turn, couldn't even blink. It was as if the words themselves pinned me in place. Mark whispered, "Don't." His voice cracked, trembling, but there was a finality to it, like he already knew what would happen if I obeyed. Another ping. Too late. The lights flickered. The air dropped 10 degrees in an instant, frost prickling along my skin. Somewhere behind me, the floor creaked, the unmistakable sound of weight shifting on old wood. I forced myself to swallow, my throat raw. My instincts screamed to run, but I couldn't. My body refused. Another email arrived. Closer. I gripped the table so hard my knuckles ached. Every nerve screamed that something was standing right there, just behind me, waiting for me to turn. Mark's breathing hitched. I heard him whisper, "Oh my God," and that was worse than anything, because it meant he could see it. Another ping. "Say hello." The air behind me thickened, pressing against my neck like a cold hand. I could feel it, something there looming patient. Mark's voice was a ragged whisper. "Don't look. Don't." But I did. I still don't know if I screamed louder than the thing standing in my apartment. And if you're reading this, it might already know about you too. I don't know how long I blacked out after that scream. Maybe seconds. Maybe hours. When I came to, the apartment was empty. No Mark. No shadow in the corner. Just me, my laptop, and the lingering cold in the air. I checked my inbox. The last email was still there. Subject line, "Look behind you." No follow-up. No explanation. Just frozen proof of what I'd seen, or thought I'd seen. And here's the part that keeps me awake long after midnight. The emails didn't stop. They still come. Sometimes they're blank, sometimes they're riddles, sometimes they're just strings of symbols that make no sense. But they never miss their mark. Midnight exactly. Every night. I thought about deleting them, about getting rid of the laptop entirely. But I can't, because now I need to know what's behind them, who's sending them, and why me, or maybe why us, because I don't think I'm the only one. This isn't the first case I've seen like this. I've dug deep enough into forums, into forgotten threads on the web, to find whispers of others. People claiming their inboxes ticked midnight like clockwork. People describing messages that knew too much, said too little, and always ended in something they couldn't explain. Most of those posts, deleted, accounts wiped, no follow-up. Maybe those people gave up. Maybe they disappeared. Or maybe the emails found a way to silence them. And that's why I'm telling you. Because if I vanish, if these words are the last thing I leave behind, maybe someone else will pick them up. Maybe you'll connect the dots before it's too late. So I have to ask, have you ever gotten strange emails after midnight? Messages you couldn't explain? Subject lines that made your blood run cold? If you have, tell me in the comments. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't pretend it didn't happen. I need to know how many of us there are. But be careful, because the more you acknowledge them, the closer they get. That's the pattern I've seen. First, they tell you to run. Then they tell you not to open the door. Then they start using your name, step by step, pulling you in. I don't know where it ends. Maybe it never does. What I do know is this: if you're still here, listening, if you've made it all the way to the end of my story, there's a chance the emails already know about you too. So check your inbox tonight. Just don't be surprised if something's waiting for you. And if it is, comment your theories. Share your stories. Because this isn't the first time. And it won't be the last.